maintains health insurance for 18 months after termination of employment. Social Security Act, an entitlement program providing benefits at the retirement age. ERISA, a federal law providing duties on the part of the employer to be good stewards of pension funds. National Labor Relations Act, unions. Chapter 30, Employment Discrimination. Constitutional protections. The 14th Amendment prohibits the government from discriminating in the workplace. To do so would violate the Equal Protection Clause. Equal Pay Act of 1963. A federal statute requiring equal pay for comparable work irrespective of the sex of the employee. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits all employers with 15 or more employees from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, or sex, or national origin. It also creates the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, which is a federal agency that enforces the act. If a person seeks to sue under Title VII, they must first file a claim of discrimination with the EEOC, which analyzes the claim and decides whether it wishes to be involved with the suit. If not, it issues a right to sue letter, which gives the plaintiff permission to proceed with their lawsuit. Religion cannot discriminate on the basis of an employee's religion beliefs, and the employer must make reasonable accommodations for them to exercise those beliefs. Sex. Gender must be irrelevant to employment decisions. Employers cannot engage in stereotyping. Attractiveness is not protected under the statute. Neither sexual orientation and transgender status are specifically mentioned under Title VII, but the Supreme Court has interpreted them as protected thereunder. Sexual harassment, prohibited by the statute, there are two types: quid pro quo, and hostile work environment. Age discrimination. The Age Discrimination in Employment Act protects against discrimination for those 40 years of age and older. American Disabilities Act, a federal law requiring employers to make reasonable accommodation for disabilities. Affirmative action and reverse discrimination. Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act protects employees against the use by employers of genetic information in employment decisions. Privacy. No expectation of privacy when using equipment like a telephone or computer provided by employer. No expectation of privacy in public spaces. Chapter 31, Starting a Business, LLCs, Corporations, and Other Options. Sole proprietorship is the business dies when you die. General partnerships are jointly and severally liable. Corporations and LLCs exist completely separate from the people and shield the individual from the company. Limited liability can choose management structure. Corporation and LLCs must file with Secretary of State. Taxed under subchapter C or S. S must qualify to be taxed under subchapter S, which means you have to have 100 shareholders or less, one class of stock, and shareholders must be individuals, not companies or anything like that. No, the different terminologies. Shareholders own corporations. Members own limited liability companies. Shareholders are the owners, directors are management, and officers are day-to-day operations in a corporation. The three options for management of an LLC are: owners can manage the business, or one person can be the manager, or they can have a board of directors. A corporation must have a president and a secretary. The outlines on forming an LLC and a corporation. As soon as you file your charter with the Secretary of State, you have formed a corporation. You must also file with the county's Register of Deeds office in the county where your principal executive office is. LLC files articles of organization. Piercing the entity veil. The law does not respect the separateness of the company if there is a failure to observe formalities, a commingling of the assets, fraud, or inadequate capitalization. And then we'll do chapter 32 as well, which is partnerships. Partnership by estoppel is the law considered the business to be a partnership. even if you don't call it one. And then management duties, duty of loyalty, competing with the partnership, taking a business opportunity, using partnership property, and conflict of interest. Duty of care is don't be negligent. Chapter 33, Life and Death of a Corporation. Promoter's liability, personal liability that may be faced by someone purporting to act on behalf of an entity that has not yet been properly formed. Um, Corporations can be referred to as Inc., Co., or Corp. LLC can be LLC or L.L.C. or limited liability company. Place of filing, Secretary of State, and then if in Tennessee, the Register of Deeds in the county where the entity has its principal executive office. There has to be an initial meeting of shareholders, confirm directors and approve bylaws, and then there has to be an initial meeting of directors if a corporation, elect officers and approve bylaws. An issuance of stock certificates is if it's a corporation. An execution of operating agreement. Stock. The stock rights are vote, inspect records, net distribution of assets upon dissolution. Authorized stock is whatever number you wrote in the charter. You can have that many pieces of stock. Treasury stock, previously issued stock turned back to the company. Classes of stock. Common stock has all the stock rights. Preferred stock is dividends. Rights of shareholders. Did I not just write that? Vote, inspect books, yeah, whatever. There's straight voting and there's cumulative voting. Chapter 34, Management Duties. The business judgment rule. The officers and directors of a corporation owe a fiduciary duty to and must act in the best interest of the corporation and its shareholders. Corporate opportunity doctrine. Managers are in violation of the corporate opportunity doctrine if they compete against the corporation without its consent. Forms of transactions under which corporations are sold. There can be an asset sale, which they just sell the assets, a merger, the acquired company ceases to exist. Shareholders in acquired company usually give equal stock to the existing company. Business merging out have dissenters' rights and can cash in their stock. And then a stock sale, both companies still exist, but one company owns all or the majority of the stock. And then Chapter 36, Bankruptcy. The U.S. Bankruptcy Code cannot file for bankruptcy if the debt was made through fraud or if it's child support or student loan debt. Chapter 7, Liquidation. Assets are divided amongst the creditors and the debtor gets a fresh start. Chapter 11, Reorganization for a business. Business keeps functioning through the supervision of bankruptcy court through a financial plan. Chapter 13 is Reorganization for individual wage earners. Bankruptcy court restructures a person's debt as they continue working. Chapter 41, Intellectual Property. Patents are exclusive rights given by the United States government to an inventor to use and market their invention for a limited period of time. Utility patents protect how things work. Utility patents are valid for 20 years from the date of filing the application. Design patents protects the appearance but not the function item. So like the F-150 but not the car, the truck. Plant patent. Anyone who creates a new type of plant can patent it, provided that the inventor is able to reproduce it asexually through grafting, for instance, rather than by planting its seeds. Each utility patent must be novel, non-obvious, and useful. No patents are given for simply discovering laws of nature or mathematical formulas. Patent applications are filed with the Patent and Trademark Office in Washington, D.C. Utility and plat patents are good for 20 years. Design patents are only good for 14 years. Priority between inventor who invents and puts into first use versus the first to file the patent application with the Patent and Trademark Office, the first to file wins. Copyrights. Owns the particular tangible expression of an item, not the idea itself. First sale doctrine, fair use exception. like criticism, research, teaching, etc. Parody, its fair use. Copyright term, generally the life of the creator plus 70 years. Um, Trademarks are words or symbols that a business uses to identify or distinguish its products. Registration allows to use the trademark symbol and ease in prosecuting trademark claims. TM or R. Exceptions: generic trademarks, personal names, geographical marks, deceptive marks similar to existing mark. Um, Chapter 42, Real Property and Landlord-Tenant Law. Real property includes the surface of land, subsurface rights, permanent buildings, airspace to some level, plant life, and fixtures. Ownership, interest in land. Fee simple absolute. Most complete form of ownership. Have all the rights to do what you want with the land. Life estate / remainder interest. Immediately following death, the ownership of the property transfers to the remainder. Fee simple defeasible. Ownership with a condition. Joint ownership, joint tenancy with the right of survival. Surviving parties inherit the share of the deceased parties. Tenants in common. The deceased party chooses who will inherit the portion. Tenants by the entireties are married couples. Other property rights, easement, utility by necessity or access. Profit is right to enter someone's land to get mineral rights. License, right to be on someone else's property for a limited period of time, such as for an event. So a ticket is a license. Deed of trust / mortgage, a lien on land to secure payment of a debt. Adverse possession, gain ownership of land by acting as if the land was your own. Recording of real estate documents in Tennessee at the County Register of Deeds. Leases generally, the statute of frauds requires that a lease must be in writing. Also, many states require that a lease for a certain number of years be recorded with the County Register of Deeds. Tennessee for years for a state fixed period. Periodic Tennessee is lease for a fixed period that automatically renews. Tennessee at will, lease with no fixed duration that can be terminated by either party at any time. Tennessee at sufferance is Tennessee that occurs when tenant holds over the termination of a lease. Duties of a landlord. Deliver possession, quiet enjoyment. Duties of a tenant. Rent, no damage, no disturbance. Triple net lease. Rent plus utilities, property taxes, and property insurance.